you mentioned, that you've been with Oprah for a long time now.
Yeah.
When did you guys first meet?
Wow, we met a long time ago. She says this sometime, and a long time ago. And
You're listening to Studio 22.
What is a lot of the work you do to put identity, education within the existing, whether it's public or private school systems into the curricula to kind of inspire the identity?
Students, yeah. Well, I have Teens Can Make It Happen program. We're moving down to, I have a partnership with an organization, school-based organization. So we're building elementary school programs, middle school programs, high school programs. And so we're in the college. We got a college course also. So, and then I have Identity Leadership, my new book, and then we have a course on that.
Oh,
So we're creating the opportunity to deliver this content to anybody in the world, but we're in the educational business, we're an educational system. So our ability to be able to, again, make this relevant to parents, teachers, and students is very important in terms of creating a legacy around this work and also impacting young people around the world.
And it's so interesting to me too, because, the way you described it of you came up with this process for yourself.
Yeah.
And then with like modern day kind of technology, you were able to get it everywhere. And now because you love it and you continue working on it, you're actually able to get it into the education system.
As you know, it's all about the execution.
Right.
So, it takes a long time to do this. This is a big vision.
Certainly.
So it takes a long time to do it. And you know how long I've been working on it and how passionate I am about the work. So I'm just trying to help as many people as possible understand what I understand, which is you can be and do anything you want to do and be if you understand the process of how to be that and you apply that to what you love and what you care about in your life.
Certainly.
So that's a very simple thing we said. How tough is it? It's very difficult to figure out what you should be doing in your life and really to kind of figure out how to do it because most of us don't read. We're not readers. We're not learners. We don't know how to organize the information that's relevant to our development. Sometimes we don't have a team. And we're operating in our subconscious from all of the bad information and bad habits and everything else that we've learned throughout the years. And so a lot of that gets in the way. So you have a lot of barriers for success.
Yeah, even just, entertainment can be a big barrier, right? You spend your time kind of watching different things here or there, or tons of barriers. Switching gears a little bit to sports, your first book, The Ultimate Guide to Sport Event Management and Marketing, one of the quotes I loved in there, branding isn't just about logos and taglines. It's about creating an emotional connection with the audience. Given the evolving dynamics of the digital age and changing consumer behavior, how do you see the future of sports branding changing, and what advice would you give to the upcoming sports marketers?
Well, the sports industry, if you go to every newspaper has a sports section to it. That's pretty.
It's my favorite sporting green in the SF Chronicle.
Everything, okay. Every paper has a, you can just go in there and just dissect it, the whole paper, half the paper, because it's full of games and schedules and this and that. And then you got ESPN and you got all these channels and you got special events now, NFL and pro football and pro basketball and all these. Now soccer is becoming really big. And it's pretty much all over the world. So, man, that's a huge marketplace. And so I just, I would not be here if it wasn't for sports because sports gave me an anchor. It gave me the determination and perseverance to be able to understand how to apply what I'm learning now in business to life and not give up. If I fell down, I have fallen down at least 50 times or more. I still get back up because of sports. So I think that the sports is going to be here. It's not going anywhere. So the ability to be able to understand the branding part of it, and especially when it comes to athletes now, and since the athletes are in college now, those athletes who are in college now are able to make money. It's changed the game. So branding is a huge thing when it comes to talent development and positioning yourself in the marketplace.
Do you think social media overall has been a hindrance to athletes, or do you think it's overall going to be like a positive when it comes to it?
I think social media is a positive if you understand who you are. If you have a base, if you have a core foundation you can build from, then you can apply social media. Social media to me is a sales tool.
Right.
Okay. The ability to be able to reach, people all over the world through this iPhone and distribute content through digital imaging and all of that is a powerful thing. And so to be able to understand how to apply that to your own development so that you can empower yourself, to me, is like, that's a gift. And now if you're using it just to entertain yourself, that may be fine for a while, but it's not creating any value. It's not working for you. So you need to be able to take social media and have it work for you as opposed to having it use you, as a tool to, help other people make money.
Yeah, man. I feel like that's a very valuable statement for people to hear in any industry, right? But yeah, sports, I feel like is just such a good example because they're constantly in the limelight. And, they can be a target, unfortunately, sometimes. But yeah, it's like...
It's a management issue. You got to be able to manage that process. To be able to, you can imagine if you are a brand in sports, and we know the brands, you reach people know your name all over the world.
Yeah.
You walk into a place, they give you everything. You got big contracts, all of that. If you were able to source content and information and apply your brand to building communities, to helping other people empower themselves, to helping your family, leveraging your brand awareness and your name for good, okay, and then to kind of organize a legacy while you're playing sports, kind of organize what you should be doing in the future, positioning yourself. You imagine the power of that, as opposed to thinking and walking around just playing ball and and not thinking about anything and just kind of having fun.
Right.
But it's the time to really, you only have a short amount of time. You don't have a lot of time. So to take those few years that you have, in some case basketball, you might have 10 years or whatever the case may be. And there's some exceptions like Tom Brady, of course, who's has more than 10, 25 years or whatever the case may be. But the ability to be able to leverage that, and I think he's done it very well, to be able to leverage that into an existing world and make it work for you and your external clan, to empower other people. I just think, and I think LeBron's looks like he's done a pretty good job of doing that, where he does life after basketball, and he's helping in the community. And I'm sure there's a lot of other athletes that do that.
When you put it like that, of course, it's an incredibly powerful tool, like you said. that makes perfect sense. But it seems more of like just avoiding the pitfalls of it, like you said.
Well, it's knowing how it can empower you and your ideas and where you're going and who you want to become, and not be stuck in just thinking that you're all of that.
Right.
And you're not, because once you stop playing ball, really not that many people care.
Right.
So you got to make it work for you, and that's what social media should be doing for everybody, is making it work for you, as opposed to, again, the reverse.
So you also wrote Teens Can Make It Happen, 9 Steps to Success. How does the concept of identity differ for this younger demographic?
Well, that's a great question. Again, I go back to how we learn. I'm trying to get a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, young person to understand they have 80 years left. And if they could take those 80 years and learn how to apply everything to what they love and what they're passionate about, what's meaningful in their life, that they really have an opportunity to improve. I mean, you're going to really be successful if you're a better person today than you were yesterday, and you just keep growing, and you're learning, and you're a lifelong learner, and you're a reader. You keep reading all the time, and you're focusing on setting goals, and you understand the process of success and how it works, and you're focusing on what you love. And you tie that to business, and you tie that to social media, and you tie that to all those things that will empower you based on what's possible for you, and you have access to a global marketplace. And everything you learn from now on, you can begin to organize it through a cognitive ability to be able to download content that's relevant to your talents, to your skills, and to your passion. If I can get you to understand that at 10 or 11, man, that's a pretty good process for building and designing your own future.
Yeah, I mean, changing the trajectory of someone's life at that age, I mean, you can't put a price on that. I mean, it's like you said, it changes them forever and can benefit them greatly.
Yeah, and the process works, especially for, some athletes who are young. They start at 6, 5, and 4, and they learn the process of how it works.
Yeah.
And by the time they get 11 or 12, they're like killing them.
Yeah.
And that's when so it's the same process for me as trying to get young people to understand their empowerment at an early age.
So similar question to sports, these young people now, I mean, I couldn't imagine kind of growing up with social media the way it is now back when I was a kid or a teen. Kind of similar question that we did for the athletes. How do these young people deal with social media when they can't necessarily start a business or use it for work?
Well, I think they have to. It's tough. It's a very difficult thing when you're dealing with social media and you don't know what it does, or the purpose of it, or how it affects you, and the algorithms are set up and designed to hook you, and all of that. So I think you just have to. Boy, hopefully you have good parents who understand, how to monitor some of that. But again, it is a valuable tool because it has so much information. Again, I go back to not everybody's going to get this, but making sure you understand who you are so you can apply the information to your development and create something that you can control as opposed to it controlling you. And so that's an awareness process, That's raising people's consciousness about that, which we're trying to do in schools. And in students we do. I mean, we have a program in Mississippi that we're working on, and man, those young people they're in STEM programs, and they're smart. And boy, to be able to eliminate all the labels that they have to deal with, I mean, through this process of identity and understanding who you are, it's just really so rewarding to see them, the light bulb go off, and not be defined by their parents and not be defined by their circumstances, which can be very difficult for them sometimes.
Yeah, and that kind of answers the second question as well about, how do you educate parents and educators in order to help children, think more about identity versus.
Well, you have to have curriculum, and so you have to have the books and the content, the materials, and everything else. And then we set it up as a trainer program.
So there is, there are projects in there that you're doing, and
yeah. It's the execution of this work that you spend a lot of time on. How do you actually get it into a system that you can deliver to these schools and organizations, anywhere.
So another great sports kind of reference right here: move without the ball, put your skills and your magic to work for you. The title itself, Move Without the Ball, it signifies being proactive when, the spotlight isn't necessarily on you. Can you share a personal anecdote where you felt you were without the ball and in life, and how you positioned yourself strategically in order to get out of it?
Well, I think when you stop playing, you're first of all, as a ball player, you're used to people cheering you all the time, and you're spoiled and all of that. And so, man, move without the ball for me is it's going into the service, man, and having to clean latrines and with a toothbrush and all of that, and really getting down and dirty around what life is could be, and what life was at that particular time. So that was move without the ball for me. Move without the ball for me was learning business. Move without the ball for me was traveling around, seeing the world. And then the beautiful thing about move without the ball is that you know how to move with the ball, but you also know how to move without the ball. And that really has been my life, is learning how to move without the ball, and that without people, clapping and yelling for you because you're making some baskets, but to be able to be good on the court, but also off the court, you're just as good. So that's my hope and dream. I think that's where Kobe was going, He's trying to be just as good off the court as he was on the court in different fields, because he wasn't playing anymore before his unfortunate mishap. So I think that's the key for athletes, because the athletes have it. They have the ability to be able to do that. They can process, they're smart, all of that. I don't know if they have the information a lot of times, but certainly they have the wherewithal to make it happen.
And then what's kind of one of the most important ways athletes can maintain a sense of self and maintain a strong identity, while society might only view them through one lens?
Being able to take control of their own development, I would say be a reader, be a learner, try to focus on what you're going to do, not while you're playing, but what you're going to do after you stop playing. Have some game plan. So not just have a game plan for being on the court, being on the field, but have some game plan for when it all ends, which is really the key. So you can leverage, there's a word called leverage. You're leveraging the opportunities that you have while you're playing, So to me, that's very important and critical.
And then not just for athletes, but anyone in any industry who, when they feel pigeonholed into one category or, one industry, what's the most important thing they can do to either branch out or, feel a stronger sense of self?
Well, today, again, you couldn't have a better opportunity than today, because we have access to so much information, and being able to be focused and compartmentalize the information and content and be clear, having some clarity and some vision around where you're going is important, in what goals you're trying to set, short-term and long-term. So I just think that, having multiple streams of opportunity, looking at the world holistically, looking at the global marketplace as a way to say what's possible for me, leveraging what you're focused on. For instance, if you're in production, be able to leverage it into all different kinds of areas of expertise, because you're producing at every level. So be able to understand how to do it all and learn as much as you possibly can. And you can do that now, because we have access to information, and you can become a self-directed learner and again, determine your own value.
100%. I think the best example in my own life for sure would be, learning the skill of writing, probably. Picking that up for comics and trying to leverage that. Not to say I'm an incredible writer, but it's just another skill set, another passion.
Yeah, it's a skill set. I mean, what skills do you have? I didn't say, I said skills with an S. Okay, so to organize your skills that relate to, again, who you are and your core base, so that you learn all of it. You learn marketing, you learn social media, you learn, the financial side of it. You learn, the internet. You learn technology. You learn imaging. You learn all of it, and make it relevant to, again, what you do.
So another book you authored, Diversity, Leaders Not Labels, A New Plan for the 21st Century. Early in the book, you note that people are trained to believe they are who others say they are, not who they were created to be. How can individuals, especially those from marginalized backgrounds, begin the process of decoupling themselves from societal labels to uncover their true potential?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing and probably a big subject today that people deal with. It's not about how other people define you. It's only about how you define yourself. And the important thing about that is, do you have the tools to be able to do that? What are the tools? Well, I go back to the most powerful word in the world, which is love, as the foundation for your existence, and to focus on that as a way to, again, organize all those things that are relevant to your empowerment, okay, your talents, your skills, your assets, your abilities, to be able to source the resources of the world through having a vision bigger than your circumstances, okay? To be able to plan it out, work every single day. You got to be a hard worker, okay? To have a strong value system, right? And to be able to focus on those barriers of success that hold you back, building a team, being able to, again, source content by organizing information. You become a reader and creating a lifestyle around that. So again, I go back to the power versus the powerless. So how are you going to be empowered so that you, outdistance the 99% of the people where are they going? They're not going anywhere. They're stuck. So, it's really about deprogramming yourself and realize, again, I go back to, it's not how the world defines you, it's about how you define yourself, and being able to work on yourself as a way to establish a privileged life.
So last social media question, I promise, but I thought this was, very applicable to the book of, you mentioned labels are distorting our view of the world and our place in it. And in today's digital age with the prominence of social media, kind of how can we work to move beyond these imposed labels and cultivate authentic self-representation?
I don't know how you do it unless you have an identity.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it unless you're focusing on what you're doing, which is to find out who you are, working on that every day, right? Because it takes a while, and figure out what you do well, and to do it over and over and over to where you become an expert in your field, so that you can outdistance everybody else who are doing what? What are they doing? They're not going anywhere for the most part because they're stuck in a mindset. And so, again, when you start to change the learning system around where everything becomes relevant to building value, then you're not stuck in that box. You're able to not be defined by the labels or how other people see you, but the only thing that's important, because I use this in my own life, not being defined by labels, and people try to put me in a box, and especially me, and in regards to my relationship. And so what I try to do is not worry about how other people define me, but how I define myself, and that's what's important.
So speaking of relationships, how do your theories on identity and success apply to couples in relationships where, you can feel comfortable working on your own identity and your own self, but also being a part of a team?
That's beautiful. You said it. So to be able to be comfortable with yourself, be happy with what you do, doesn't have anything to do with somebody else is doing. So you're not jealous, you're not angry, you're not upset because somebody is, more successful than you, or whatever the case may be, because you're happy with yourself. That's what we're talking about.
That makes perfect sense. I think we can all relate to that, right? It's like, no matter where you are or who you're with, there's always some sort of, question of, is that person being their authentic self, and do I want to be in this relationship?
And strength being, only the strong survive. That's I always talk about that in my speeches. But you're strong when you're strong. You're not strong because you want to make yourself be strong. You're strong when you do the work. You're strong when you have a vision that you can apply to your life every day. You're strong when you're focusing on what you do well. You're strong when you focus on love. You're strong when when you put the 24 hours of work in, and when you're strong when you organize your life. You're strong when you are able to take information and make it relevant to your development. You're strong when you work on your weaknesses. That's when you're strong. You're not strong because you just want to be strong or just because you think you should be stronger than the other person. So you got to earn the right for that.
Then have there been examples of, and have you used kind of your own principles of identity with?
I couldn't do it. There's no way I could do it or deal with some of the issues I've had to deal with throughout my life without following the 9-step success process. Okay, I follow it. I created it for myself. And what I do is I don't worry about how the world defines me or how other people define me. I work on me.
Yeah.
I develop me so that the more I have, the more I can give. I can contribute more because I'm working on me and building value in my own life. So it's the value you want to build in your own life, not waiting for somebody to give you that or having somebody else determine your value. Create your own, build your own opportunities, source your own talents, find out what you do well and work on it and search for it. And then what will happen, you'll develop this process for continuous improvement. And you'll improve and you'll grow and you'll develop and you'll build and you're pretty much, you're not your circumstances, you are your possibilities because of the work that you put in. It's the work that you do when you work on yourself. So we're just trying to change this around so that you begin to understand the importance of you and how you can begin to build whatever you want based on the work.
And then what do you think is the most understood aspect of the identity teachings?
Misunderstood?
Yeah.
That it's easy.
Right.
It's an easy process to figure out who you are because it's ongoing. It never ends. You always have to improve it. You always have to, you go one level, another level, another level, another level in that process. So it's not me just saying it. When I just say it, find out what you love. You got to find out what you don't love. You got to find out what you don't want to do. You got to, focus on it. You got to actually do it. You might have to work in it. You have to break the mold. You have to go back to that. You spend years and years, and sometimes, in some cases, you may never find it because you have nobody to actually show you how to actually do it, which is why I do this work, is to show people the process for how it's done so they at least can start. It may take you 15 years to get to the point where you're really happy about the work that you're doing.
Right.
It would take you a long time because you got to, look at the work that you do. You got to break this stuff down. This stuff is not easy. Nothing easy about that. You got to show up every day. You got to have a routine. You got to go to meetings. You got to be able to, be creative. You got to have a team to do that. A lot of times, you don't have the wherewithal to have all of that. So you got to build up to that. You got to work on a job you might hate. There's a lot of different pieces. And now you got to deal with social media. You got to deal with all the external world. You got to deal with, work-life balance. You got to deal with family. You got to deal with all of that. And you got to be able to balance all of that.
And because identity is such a personal, introspective journey, how do you see it functioning in the context of societal changes and society as a whole?
It's a lonely place because, you got 99% of the people who pretty much don't have one. And, or they don't really understand the value, or they haven't started working on one, I should say. And so you're like in the minority. You're like a, outside force and it's lonely at the top, when you're, organizing yourself around people who are thinkers, who are doers, who want to make it happen, who are independent in their development and all of that. So it's not a crowded field for the most part. So when you begin to produce and organize your own thoughts and you're, folks are out there playing softball and hanging out at the beach and you're where you, you're working.
Yeah.
And when are you working? Will Melman, you're working 24/7 every day. And you're thinking about it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so that's you got to give up a lot. Sometimes you got to give up your friends and folks and all of that, but it's worthwhile because you control your own destiny. You can create your own opportunities.
Yeah, and then it, like you said, it creates that feeling of empowerment and confidence and fulfillment. So let's say, maybe you missed that dinner with the folks, but you go the next time and you have more to talk about and you're excited and you show up more positive because you were working on something you loved. Right?
There you go. That's it. That's the freedom everybody wants. And everybody, that's why people are working they want to work at home. Because when they got a taste of working at home, this is what it's like. I can work at home. I can go outside. I can take a break. I can, do some of the things I want. And they don't want to go back in the office.
Right.
So that's the freedom we're talking about, is that we have the ability to be able to decide our own schedule and do some of the things we want to do when we want to do them. And that's the freedom that you get. Now, you're going to work at it. You're going to work for that because you got to eat what you kill.
Right.
And so that's a whole nother ball game.
So you mentioned, that you've been with Oprah for a long time now.
Yeah.
When did you guys first meet?
Wow. We met a long time ago. She says this sometime, and a long time ago. And we met at a charity. I knew her 2 years before we actually started going out. And we met over this gentleman's house named Max Robinson, who was an anchor back in the day, and so we've been together for a long time. It's been great. I mean, I'm so lucky and very fortunate to have a great partner. It's not been easy, which the relationships aren't always easy, but it's been. I'm so grateful and thankful that I have somebody who is just a dynamic and wonderful person and who's extraordinary.
That's amazing. That's what we all, wish for and hope for sure, is finding that life partner. And yeah.
It's amazing. And she is, I look at what she's done and who she is, and I can't even believe, what she's done, and it just, extraordinary to watch.
Larger than life, right? It's
incredible mind, beautiful woman. Just, nice to everybody, humble, humility, that kind of thing. So just really, really, really strong all the way around.
Yeah, it's incredible. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your writing process as an aspiring writer. Do you spend a lot of time on the outline phase? Do you like to just jump into it? What's your writing process?
Well, my writing process is I come up with ideas and I write a lot. And then I may come up with an idea, and what I try to do is solve problems through solutions, of course, and through my writing. I'm kind of in the self-help industry. I'm now in the identity industry. So, I do a lot of writing around that and research around that. And then I have someone help me. I can't do all of the writing myself. And so that works out really well. And then you want to build a team, and now I have instructional designers who help and all of that. But basically I drive it for the most part and drive the content and all of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. It's, having so many books out and doing it for so long. It's obviously impressive is an understatement, but,
it's hard writing a book.
Yeah.
There's nothing easy about writing a book. So it takes a team of people, and I'm fortunate to have a great agent, and, I've had, great publishers, and a team of folks who help. And so again, it's a process. I can't even believe that I'm still in the game, writing and still speaking. And we just kind of really are just starting And the identity work, after 30 years of working to try to build this thing, we're just starting to build these systems where we can deliver this content pretty much anywhere in the world. And now we have the internet, which is a blessing. So I'm so fortunate.
Speaking of your lecturing and traveling around the world, we touched on the teen 9 steps for success, but I know you have done a lot of work with like CEOs and businessmen and women.
Yeah, I do a lot of corporate speaking. Again, I have identity applies to a lot of different segments. So we're in the education business and we're in the corporate business. And, I've worked for major companies and, Wells Fargo I work for, and one of my clients. Gulfstream is one of my clients. ConAgra is one of my clients. So, I can go on and on.
Right,
7-Eleven and all of that. But I love working for corporate and doing conferences and all of that. And I had the favorite speaking opportunity for me was I toured to 150 schools around the country in 2 years with one client.
Wow.
Speaking. And the most I've spoken to, we had 12,000 young people in our stadium at one time speaking to them. And we've done that about 2 or 3 times. So that was phenomenal. To be able to talk about identity and all of that. So that was great. The speaking thing is wonderful because I love what I talk about. I love my work. And so speaking is a way to convey that to the audience when they request that. And then now workshops. I love these workshops because we can go deeper and dive deeper in the content. It's more interactive. It's probably about 2 hours, 3 hours, we can do that, a full program pretty much. And people really love that. They get a lot out of that.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, reaching a lot of people. And it seems it would be more impactful or just as impactful as like, them reading a book, but seeing you live and really kind of feeling the energy, because I saw Eckhart and Deepak at USC, and it was like a life-changing experience. And I guess it is a little different because the book, you get more information, but from the speaking, it's like more impactful, if that makes sense.
There's a connection there.
Yeah.
So I love to speak, and then I do a book signing, and we have the books, and now we're building the courses out. So it's a kind of a building an ecosystem around the work, and so it's very, very exciting. I love the work. I'm passionate about the work, and so it makes it. And now again, we have such a great opportunity with the internet and all of that to be able to deliver content anywhere in the world. So it's a beautiful process.
And the only reason I brought up the corporate stuff is I think it's so interesting that you've created a system that similarly can help, younger kids to the, most powerful corporate CEO, but it's a very similar system that just applies broadly to all humans, like as something that's so core to our development.
You have to know who you are at all levels. And the younger you know, the more opportunities you'll have for yourself. So what we try to do is get people to raise their consciousness about what's possible for them. And we want them to perform at the highest possible level. So how do you become really great at what you do? How do you become good at what you do? How you perform all the time in every part of your life, which is important for managers and CEOs and teams and employees, because you got to be today a self-starter and a self-directed learner. People don't have time to watch you. So what we try to do is get people to be engaged in their own life and their own development and be present where they are so that they have the ability to be able to create a great organization because they're great and they're good.
That's powerful. What's next for you? What are you working on coming up?
Well, what's next for me is to, I've been in development for all of these years building this. What's next for me to be able to actually do this work and be more in the world. And I've been back and forth a little bit, but we're kind of developing a technology team around, the work. We're developing teams of people around production, and, now we have a worldwide market, different cultures, all of that. So to be able to deliver, the content is what's next, and we keep building that and building that and building that. And so that feels really good right now to be able to be in that position to do it. It's still a lot of work, but at least we kind of have the roadmap for where we're going. That's what's exciting.
Well, man, I'm looking forward to all of it.
I appreciate your support and appreciate you having me. And man, you're doing a great job and you look fantastic. And, congratulations on the work that you do.
Thank you so much for coming in, Stedman. It's a huge honor.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching Studio 22.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And follow our socials at Studio 22 Podcast.